Sometimes it's good to see how other scholars translate Isaiah. We have at least one recent translation by a member of the church, and of course, modern scholars have more information to work with than the King James translators did 400 years ago. Today we'll see how modern scholars translate Isaiah 1:21 through 24. And remember, this is all part of Isaiah's introduction to his book. Verse 21, "The faithful city, what an adulteress she has become. She was once full of justice. Righteousness once dwelt in her, but now murderers." That's from Holman's Christian Standard Bible. Verse 22, "Once like pure silver, you have become like worthless slag. Once so pure, you are now like watered down wine." From the New Living Translation. Verse 23, "Thy princes are apostates and companions of thieves, everyone loving a bribe and pursuing rewards. The fatherless they judge not, and the plea of the widow cometh not to them." That's from Young's literal translation. "Therefore the Lord, Jehovah of hosts, the valiant one of Israel, declares, Woe to them! I will relieve me of mine adversaries, avenge me of mine enemies." That's from Gileadi's translation, who's an LDS scholar and former BYU instructor. Now, let's try to understand what and who Isaiah is talking about. We see the word city here. It showed up earlier in verse 8, when Isaiah said that this city, the daughter of Zion, would be besieged. The daughter of Zion is a euphemism for Jerusalem, and anciently it was besieged by the Assyrians, though it didn't fall until more than 100 years later when the Babylonians conquered it. But as we know, Isaiah is speaking of more than ancient Jerusalem. According to his own words, he's speaking of the last days. So let's look at these prophecies again. This once faithful city has become an adulteress. She was once full of justice, but now she's home to murderers. She was once like pure silver, but now she's like worthless slag or watered down wine. These are strong words against the capital of the covenant people. But Isaiah goes further, even indicting the leaders of the city. He says, "Thy princes are apostates and companions of thieves. The fatherless they judge not, and the plea of the widow cometh not to them." If this sounds like it's hitting close to home, let's not forget that it was Isaiah saying all this. We may not like what he said, but we can't deny that he said it, because we find essentially the same words in the Book of Mormon. So let's ask some questions. Does ancient Jerusalem have a counterpart in our day? Where is the capital of covenant Israel today? And was that city once faithful? Did righteousness once abide in her? But now do its people break covenants that would liken them to a harlot or an adulteress? Do murderers abide there? In Doctrine and Covenants 113, the Lord equates latter-day Jerusalem and Zion to those who hold the priesthood in the last days. In other words, Jerusalem is equated to the people of the Latter-day Covenant. Thus, we might say that modern Jerusalem, in the Lord's eyes, is where the priesthood is gathered. It could be in Salt Lake City, or it could be in any of the stakes of Zion, or even where a holy temple is operating. Wherever we find it, we must admit that Isaiah's warning does dangerously fall close to home. Some cities and communities that were once composed mostly of priesthood holders and were mostly obedient to their covenants are now dealing with more wickedness than ever. Brigham Young once foretold the following about Salt Lake City. "After a while, the Gentiles will gather in Salt Lake City by the thousands, and this will be among the wicked cities of the world." But it's not just Gentiles who are taking us astray. Many of our own people have taken up their cause and have slipped away from the faith, some of them not so quietly. As Isaiah said, our silver is becoming dross, our wine is becoming diluted, and we can't seem to stop the decline. Though many faithful saints honor their covenants diligently, the faithful city is falling prey, in too many cases, to covenant sons and daughters who have allowed themselves to be changed from silver to slag. And as we shall learn in the next few verses, the Lord will have a purified people, even if he must refine them in the furnace of affliction. As he says, "I will restore my hand over you and smelt away your dross as in a crucible, and remove all your alloy." We'll discuss all that next week, along with the promises made to the faithful, to those who come through this furnace of affliction with their souls purified like gold and silver. I'm Curtis Taylor with the Words of Isaiah.